Imagine this scene. The most prestigious soiree in Seoul, where the wealthy gather beneath glittering chandeliers worth more than entire residences, where fragrance fills the air alongside power and ambition, where strength speaks quietly instead of loud. It's the annual Ascension Ball, a restricted gathering where Asia's richest dynasties assemble to celebrate their dominance over industries, territories, and lives. The setting is 2024, and the grand hall of the Shilla Hotel shimmers with warmth that makes every guest appear sculpted by Renaissance artisans. Present here are government officials, magnates, entertainment titans, and investment leaders. Present are individuals who've determined the destiny of continents, and those pursuing that same influence. Yet tonight, that dynamic will shift because of a single spill and one woman's calculated control. Marcus Chin sits at the most distinguished spot in the ballroom, positioned nearest the stage, visible to all lenses, all cameras, all observers. He's merely 28, yet he conducts himself with the bearing of someone twice that age, because his position was handed down, not achieved through effort. His parent, Richard Chin, established a technological conglomerate spanning 11 territories, constructed on invention, on upheaval, and on a readiness to bend, at times fracture, limitations. Marcus never experienced scarcity. He never questioned survival. He emerged into sufficiency, into wealth, into the category of advantage that convinces individuals they stand separate from ordinary guidelines. His attire this evening was crafted in Italy. His timepiece is a Richard Mille priced at 500,000. His wrist ornaments are gold, decorated with gems that shimmer like solidified starlight. And his companion, a pageant contestant identified as Victoria, just 22, bearing features worthy of countless internet posts, sits beside him, responding to his humor, positioning her hand appropriately, enacting the ideal female companion with the artistry of someone who's perfected this performance. Marcus reclines in his seat, embodying the relaxed command that emerges only from experiencing zero true results. He's discussing with colleagues around him regarding his upcoming commercial initiative, a digital currency service that shall, per his assessment, reshape worldwide comprehension of prosperity. The surrounding individuals applaud, acknowledge, endorse all he declares because his father's endorsement translates to substantial resources, and his backing channels into Marcus's power. He's narrating an anecdote concerning a business opponent he bested at cards, describing the fellow's reaction upon losing, as a server appears. Her designation is Zara Davis. She's age 26. She originated in Detroit, Michigan, raised by a working medical professional and a male figure absent from memory. She measures 5'7", possessing mahogany-toned skin, locks braided and extending like a crown of darkness, with regard that hides depths making others sense submersion. However, from Marcus Chen's perspective, as she moves forward holding a collection of wine containers, she doesn't register. She's beneath acknowledgement. She's a utility. She's a service function. She's ambient backdrop throughout his sphere. Marcus doesn't comprehend, nobody within that hall understands, that Zara Davis has invested the previous 24 intervals preparing for this precise instant. Zara wasn't born prosperous, but she carries something far more hazardous: capability. She was 9 when her parent obtained a second-hand processing machine, and by 11, Zara had instructed herself in programming. By 15, she'd infiltrated her academy's databases and adjusted her evaluations. By 18, exclusive digital protection enterprises courted her. Yet Zara refused employment with the apparatus. She desired awareness, expertise, eventually possession. By age 22, she'd vanished from available records completely. She transformed into a specter within systems, a shadowy architect of computer frameworks, someone whose label never appeared on employment files, whose image never registered on safety networks, whose being was recognized solely to the most controlling and suspicious individuals globally. A dozen cycles back, Zara was engaged by the Quiet Serpent for a responsibility that demanded all her capacities, everything constituting her being, and would reshape her into existence unprecedented. A person capable of collapsing an operation from within, utilizing merely information and patience. Her objective was Richard Chen's business, Marcus's father. Richard Chen, it transpires, exceeded mere commercial entrepreneur. Richard Chen provided assistance. He functioned as someone who utilized his online platforms to disguise finances from criminal operations across the region. He functioned as a distributor of information to the maximum payers. He functioned as someone who devastated multitudes of existences chasing heightened capital, and accomplished this consistently with smiling expressions, with speeches addressing business values, with financial distributions to establishments bearing his recognition. Zara's assignment remained uncomplicated. Dismantle him. Dismantle his business structure. Obtain facts confirming his illegal actions to worldwide enforcement. And accomplish this undetected. Yet Zara's responsibility includes a difficulty. She must accomplish this performance while operating as a server worker, a menial worker, someone overlooked by her investigative subjects. She must diminish herself, overtly, repeatedly, regularly, to a rank that individuals resembling Marcus Chen perceive as fundamentally inferior. And that's the brutality, the authentic brutality beneath this narrative. The privileged don't merely consume the underprivileged, they render the underprivileged absent from awareness. They render them so unobservable, so unreal, that mistreatment resembles shifting household items. Zara has functioned at the Shilla Hotel spanning several months. Several months with container service, with hearing offensive remarks phrased as instructions, with witnessing personalities like Marcus Chen demonstrate cold detachment to workers that would terrify if it wasn't so widespread. She's been organizing this moment with nighttime exertion, discovering secrets, investigating, gathering documentation, and demonstrating absence by day. Her connection, the Quiet Serpent's dependable operative, a female identified as Jade operating as a lodge administrator but representing something substantially more threatening, connects with her biweekly in classified circumstances to communicate developments. The responsibility nears finishing. Approximately a couple additional spans and arrangements will be prepared. The documentation will demonstrate complete accuracy. The agents will proceed concurrently spanning 4 zones. Richard Chen will spend his remaining lifetime imprisoned, and his business will be dismantled, separated, awarded to those he's harmed. Yet this evening something surprising will manifest. As Zara moves toward Marcus's position, she's holding a platform containing 8 servings of 1995 Romani Conti, a Burgundian beverage so scarce that just several containers persist globally. This specific container cost the establishment $4,000 in payment. Individual measures represent roughly $500 of value. A beverage manufactured before certain attendees had existence. A beverage carrying the significance of history and restriction and the kind of distinction that the extremely prosperous utilize to reassure themselves they're distinct from the population. Marcus doesn't register her being before she's practically at his table. He's occupied displaying superiority, demonstrating command, describing another subject he defeated. However, as she positions the servings with skill accumulated from countless iterations, Marcus's partner reclines in her seat, an action so modest, so undetectable that Zara nearly bypasses it. Victoria moves toward her belongings, glancing at her communications device, performing one of numerous tiny movements constituting lived experience. Yet at that instance, at that fraction, Zara's appendage changes angle. The platform shifts, and multiple containers of 1995 Romani Conti descend upon Marcus Chen's tailored garment like burning water, like deep scarlet fluid, like an omen manifesting itself. The grand hall becomes immobile. Motion seems to pause. Conversations discontinue mid-phrase. Attention rotates. Expressions alter. This registers as substantial. This registers as consequential. This represents an occasion of tremendous public mortification, and all inside comprehend this. All grasp the forthcoming sequence. Marcus arises. Gradually, his coloring begins shifting, not exclusively from embarrassment yet from fury. The wrath emerging from someone never refusing, never experiencing disruption, never feeling friction against intention. The beverage leaks from his garment. Its scent distributes around him, something that appears gorgeous in alternative situations, that appears luxurious and rare, yet here it scents solely of breach, of deterioration, of elements destroyed. You, Marcus articulates, his delivery muted, which demonstrates stronger effect than loudness. Do you grasp what you've just accomplished? Zara stays wordless. She's shifting into positions of contrition, of subordination. She's lowering regard. She's demonstrating the conduct servers should exhibit when responsibility fails. She's disappearing again or attempting to. However, Marcus continues. He seizes her arm, not harshly, not presently, yet with the grasp of someone evaluating their authority, examining restrictions. Observe me, he instructs, and Zara looks upward, and momentarily their gazes cross and something travels among them neither anticipated. However, Marcus misinterprets that instance as antagonism, as assertion, as disrespect. You recognize what transpires when individuals disrespect me? He poses to attendees, pulling her nearer. They comprehend. He signals toward a female near the ballroom perimeter, his beauty consultant positioned prepared to manage any appearance circumstances. Retrieve the cutting apparatus, Marcus declares. The battery-operated versions. Without pause. The consultant wavers. The Chin organization has compensated her over extended periods. She's aware of their capabilities regarding opposition. Yet she's conscious, somewhere internally, that this request violates principles. She proceeds to the side nonetheless. She retrieves a battery-operated cutting apparatus from a grooming platform. Her appendages tremble. She returns to Marcus, offering the instrument similarly to presenting a lethal object, which it is. Maintain her. Marcus instructs his security officer, a broad male identified as Sung, someone protecting Marcus since his teenage period, someone schooled to never object instructions. Sung grasps Zara's alternate side, and presently she's confined between opposing powers, restrained, unable to flee. Marcus powers the apparatus. The noise resembles your envisioning, mechanical whirring, feeling excessively loud, excessively present, excessively authentic for an instant, resembling a fantasy. He positions the apparatus toward Zara's head. Subsequently, with systematic dedication of someone performing ceremony, he initiates cutting. The primary lock descends to the surface. Subsequently the subsequent. Subsequently the subsequent. Each consumes approximately half a moment. Each eliminates measures of material requiring periods to construct, months to produce. The grand hall maintains quiet besides the apparatus vibration and the tender contact of each lock meeting marble. Individuals document this. Communication devices become visible. Recording happens. This occurrence, this community embarrassment, gets captured through multiple perspectives and it cannot be reverted. Zara doesn't produce liquid from her face. She doesn't produce sound. She doesn't request compassion. She merely stays fixed, her appearance a total demonstration of tranquility. And this somehow intensifies Marcus's sensation, because her calm seems like antagonism. Her absence of voice seems like judgment. Her immobility seems like a category of strength he doesn't comprehend and cannot accept. Following Marcus's completion, Zara's head is shortened near the dermis. The locks, all of them individually representing an element of her character, individually representing something gorgeous and exclusive, scatter on the surface like debris of obliteration. She seems entirely different. Her head appears smaller, more exposed. Her physiognomy becomes suddenly more apparent, more unguarded. And something within that exposure, something within that visibility, brings unease to certain guests, because they grasp what they've just experienced. They've just seen a male openly wreck a female's look, her respect, her sense of security, and they've accomplished zero. Marcus releases the apparatus to the surface. He returns to his gathering. He rests as if no circumstance occurred. His companion, Victoria, gazes at him with a response that could represent awe or horror. Determination becomes impossible. The population near him sits without dialogue. Certain prevent ocular contact. Certain feign missing everything. Certain already contemplate how they'll narrate this incident, if it becomes something to advocate for or something to separate from. Zara persists positioned identically, her grip still in Sung's possession, her head currently apparent to the ballroom illumination. And when observed thoroughly at her face, you notice something in her look. Not anxiety. Not disgrace. Not even offense, actually. What you notice in Zara's look represents a category of obvious recognition. It's the recognition of someone who's awaited their opposition to produce this precise misstep. She pulls her appendage away from Sung, and he permits this, because mistreatment has transpired, because he's just grasped his participation and something interior is fracturing. She exits the ballroom. She doesn't sprint. She doesn't quicken. She exits with her head held high, her shortened head, her uncovered head, her head that's just been publicly harmed, held higher than it's previously been. What transpires following matters, therefore concentrate. Zara proceeds to the bathing area. She washes her features. She regards herself in the reflecting surface, at the shortened material, at the exposure of her dermis, at the features that the populace can currently observe completely, and permits herself specifically 30 pulse moments of anguish. 30 seconds where her appendages quiver, where moisture nearly flows, where the pressure of her circumstance endangers to overwhelm her. Subsequently she breathes, retrieves her communication apparatus, and dispatches a single signal to her supervisor Jade. Phase 3 commencing. Phase 3 represents the instant they've arranged across 2 cycles. Phase 3 represents when Zara quits disappearing. Phase 3 represents when the Quiet Serpent enters this story. Within moments, Zara's communication apparatus signals. It's not Jade. It's another. A masculine cadence, communicating in the regional language with such magnificence it sounds like melody, saying exclusively one concept. I'm arriving to gather you. That cadence represents the individual she's been contracted to for the previous half cycle, the individual she's carried affection for 2 cycles, the individual she's prepared to ruin existence to defend and assist, the personality recognized throughout the region solely as the Quiet Serpent. His authentic name is Mikhail Korakov, however no entity calls him that, because titles distribute influence to individuals, and the Quiet Serpent requires nothing. He has existence. He has determination. He has the category of supremacy that doesn't demand introduction. Mikhail Korakov counts 34 seasons. He originated in Vladivostok, the Russian region, to a group engaged in crime at greatest extents. His parent functioned as an importer. His female parent functioned as a digital specialist. His sibling functioned as an operative. Mikhail was instructed in brutality, in arrangement, in the grasp that authority functions as the singular communication the planet acknowledges. However, where his male parent demonstrated savagery, Mikhail mastered precision. Where his sibling expressed feeling, Mikhail mastered calm. Through age 25 he'd organized authority spanning the Russian underground empires and stretched his operation into the area, establishing a structure that doesn't manifest in legitimate information, that doesn't emerge in stories, that occupies the background and unspoken words of people wise enough to avoid discussing it loudly. Mikhail's character gets established on comprehensive management and comprehensive reliability. Individuals function for him because they comprehend that he'll preserve them totally or wreck them totally, and no alternative exists. He's never forfeited a dispute. He's never experienced disloyalty absent devastating replies. And many importantly, he's never, across his being, desired anything equivalent to how he desires Zara Davis. He encountered her 2 cycles back at a business assembly in the Singapore area. Despite encountered, doesn't function precisely. The reality is that Mikhail detected a feminine presence in attendance who didn't correspond to any associations he recognized, who appeared to be observing all and every individual with a capability that felt nearly hunting. He had her examined. He found that she functioned as a specter in the digital sphere, an individual having nothing, no archives, nothing. It consumed him a few months and the capabilities of dozens of examiners, yet he ultimately comprehended that she functioned on an initiative, that she was dismantling something, that she was, genuinely, one of the maximum threatening individuals he'd discovered. Therefore he accomplished his standard approach when discovering danger. He moved toward it straight. He discovered her at a beverage establishment in the Thailand city, positioned solitary, entering information into an apparatus that possibly maintained greater computing capability and limited material than multiple government groups. He positioned himself at her platform absent requesting authorization. He communicated, "I'm conscious of what you're accomplishing. I'm able to support or I'm able to block you. Pick which develops." Zara, who exceeds most individuals in intellect, observed him and identified exactly his nature. Authority manifested. And instead of anxiety she felt something alternate. She felt awareness. She felt like she'd been pursuing him absent realizing her pursuit. They turned into collaborators. Subsequently they turned into something deeper. Subsequently they turned into integrated. And continuously they've been arranging toward this instant. where Marcus Chen's excess arrogance and Zara's careful organizing meet in a manner that'll shift their complete sphere. Mikhail gets to the Shilla Hotel 40 intervals past Zara's notice. He's not solitary. He appears with quartet of males, every person skilled in fighting, in safety, in the kinds of operations that don't exist in legitimate records. However, he doesn't require them for combat. He requires them for the signal his being distributes. I exist here and I matter, and if you've damaged someone I value, consequences await that you cannot envision. He contacts Zara in a protected chamber on the establishment's management tier, a chamber that her supervisor Jade has gotten admittance to. When he sees her, when he notices the shortened material, the openness, the indication of what occurred, something shifts in his appearance that his personnel have never experienced. His control breaks. Just for a fraction. Enough so they grasp that this registers as intimate in a manner nothing additional in his existence has ever registered. He traverses the chamber in triple steps and pulls her into his grasp, and for several durations both stay soundless. "I'll destroy him," Mikhail articulates ultimately in the Russian language beside her material. It's not a threat toward her. It's a statement of actuality, a guarantee, a promise. "No," Zara expresses, and her cadence sounds steady, resolved. "We'll accomplish something more severe. We'll obliterate him absolutely. And we'll accomplish it in a manner he never suspects." This registers as the instant where the operation shifts from a digital task into something far additional, private, far additional, threatening. Because Mikhail Korakov doesn't merely protect the ones he cherishes. He creates vendetta for them. And his vendetta works as a creation of magnificence. Within spans, Mikhail has enacted his whole circle. Communications get transmitted to individuals in powerful locations. Political figures, magistrates, enforcement workers. Advantages get requested. Liabilities get gathered. The message distributes via the hidden world that Richard Chin, Marcus's male parent, shall become quite significant to multiple enforcement organizations. Zara, from the protected location, starts the ultimate section of her digital initiative. Materials that have been disguised, buried, and scattered via countless databases instantaneously become reachable. Documentation of financial crime, of human exploitation support, of contraband distribution, of all crimes that Richard Chin has executed spanning 2 decades, instantaneously starts arriving at enforcement leader mail containers spanning the United States, the Korean region, and the Singapore region. Through tomorrow, Richard Chen's business trembles. His money administrator gets a signal from enforcement workers. His properties get taken. His financial accounts get limited. His advisors experience fright-setting, contacting magistrates they've paid, attempting to grasp what's occurring, how anybody could have penetrated their safety so thoroughly that they maintain documentation, images, recordings, documentation of activities that they absolutely confirmed was protected. However, the assault on Marcus works a distinct style because Mikhail grasps something vital. The optimal retaliation toward a male who's gotten everything represents taking away his sensation of security, his sensation of authority, his sensation that circumstances proceed through his established guidelines. Marcus activates the subsequent daybreak to find that his monetary instruments quit working. His monetary resources are limited. Enforcement workers gather at his residential structure posing questions regarding his parents' occupation. His internet presence experiences flooding by recordings from the celebration. Pictures displaying him in total precision, openly degrading a feminine, truncating her material, creating her sink into sentiment while numerous individuals observe and accomplish nothing. Yet here's what creates this initiative genuinely destructive. Those pictures are observed by individuals who are meaningful. His monetary supporters observe them. His governing group observes them. His companions observe them. And critically, his companion Victoria observes them, and she instantly contracts an advocate and initiates the procedure of splitting from him absolutely. Because Victoria exists as a smart feminine, and she grasps that existing connected to something about to turn into contaminated doesn't signify a direction toward the existence she desires. Marcus attempts to leave. He makes efforts to travel to his organization's getaway property in the Mediterranean, yet his travel papers gets flagged. He makes efforts to acquire concealed monetary resources that his parent created for him, yet they're limited through enforcement authorities he didn't comprehend were examining him. He makes efforts to reach his parent requesting support, yet Richard Chin continues in enforcement holding, incapable to assist himself, certainly not his boy. Marcus exists imprisoned in soul, imprisoned in his origin zone, imprisoned in a catastrophe that seems to be spreading each moment. Through the alternate interval he gets a caller. It's an enforcement officer identified as Kim, a feminine measuring her 50s with expression that's recognized 1,000 activities and 1,000 perpetrators. She rests across from him in his advocate's office and outlines the demonstration opposite him. She demonstrates materials recording his engagement in his parents' illegal operations. And indeed, engagement exists. Marcus wasn't conscious of the extent, yet he profited, he participated, he recognized partly that something registered as improper and preferred avoiding inquiry. Through the subsequent interval he gets another caller, a reporter identified as Sarah Chin, not connected, presenting a story that shall emerge in all significant communication outlets on the planet. The principal headline communicates, "Billionaire's boy revealed. Public mistreatment recording triggers worldwide crime examination." The piece particulars not solely the community hurt toward Zara, yet also the broader situation. The reality that a feminine encountered harm, that it was registered, that it was utilized as substantiation of the casual brutality that permitted her attacker's parents' greater activities. The piece positions Zara not as damaged, yet as a whistleblower, a female courageous adequate to position herself within jeopardy to reveal impropriety. Through the quaternary interval Marcus makes efforts at ending. He ingests substances. He sits in his housing and permits the time interval to unfold, yet his safety group gets to him prior to consciousness disappears, and he's moved to a facility, where he's preserved contrary to desire. Because Mikhail Korakov has selected. Marcus Chin doesn't inherit the gentleness of conclusion. Marcus Chin inherits life with what he's perpetrated, throughout a very extended duration. The authorized review goes spanning 180 intervals. Throughout this duration, Marcus examines his existence being carefully obliterated. His male parent achieves verdict for multiple currency crime problems, multiple exploitation support problems and multiple weapon trafficking problems. He gets an permanent punishment. Marcus achieves verdict for participation, for deception, and for violent activity. He gets 15 periods. His ownership gets seized. His family designation becomes aligned with impropriety and cruelty. Every individual who sustained him, every companion who declared attachment, splits completely. He develops into an avoided individual, a lesson, a designation that folks utilize to instruct their young ones what transpires when advantage meets brutality. Yet the most devastating instant happens throughout the examination, when Zara gets prompted to communicate her testimony. She enters the courtroom with her material somewhat reconstructed, featuring a refreshed appearance, with a being that pervades the complete chamber. She portrays the gala instant with precision, with lucidity, with a category of standing that renders Marcus' experience smaller through each utterance. And when the prosecution voice queries her, "Did you experience dread?" she provides a solution featuring calm that remains far more harmful than any passionate reply could function. "No, I didn't experience dread. I was anticipating. I was anticipating for somebody like him to demonstrate me specifically whom I required to obliterate." Following the examination, Zara and Mikhail have a little, exclusive bonding. It's not in Seoul. It's not in a grand chamber. It's in a little monastic construction in the landscape of the Himalayan area, featuring barely 40 visitors. Individuals faithful to Mikhail, individuals grasping what it represents becoming component of his sphere. Zara puts on a garment that was crafted particularly for her, and Mikhail puts on clothing that valued similar to a property. They share guarantees in the Russian language and the English language, and when they unite their lips, the surrounding individuals grasp that they're viewing not merely a joining, yet the partnership of a pair who've selected to establish a life constructed upon absolute reliance, absolute commitment and absolute devotion to each other. As they leave the monastery, Zara poses to Mikhail. "Do you regret any aspect? Do you regret supporting me?" Mikhail maintains her appendage and states, "I'd obliterate the complete sphere for you. This initiative represented nothing. This was merely the commencement of what I'm prepared to complete to maintain your security, to maintain your gratification, to guarantee that everybody who ever examines you with absence of respect comprehends that they're regarding somebody defended by capabilities they're incapable to imagine." And Zara smiles because she comprehends that he suggests it, because she's comprehended from the instant she contacted him that this represents the category of individual she was constantly going to cherish. Not despite his darkness, yet because of it, because his darkness enables her to be totally herself, to function as an architect of payback and the cherished of a male who shall never, in no situations, enable her to get consideration as nothing minus remarkable. Therefore here's what I'm departing you with for reflection, and I request you to genuinely contemplate this. If you'd been Zara, positioned in that chamber viewing your material descend to the surface, comprehending that you contain the authority to obliterate the male disrespecting you yet you functioned for the extended horizon, comprehending that retaliation shall be far greater absolute if you persisted, if you prepared, if you enabled him to think he succeeded prior to showing that he'd truly misplaced everything, would you have remained muted the method she did? Would you have possessed the resolve to consume the disrespect, the community disgrace, the assault, comprehending that it functioned as vital for the ultimate intention? Or would you have opposed in that instant, hazarded everything for the quick gratification of observing anxiety in his expression? Because sincerely I think most of us would have resisted. I think most of us would have preferred the quick gratification above the extended horizon. Yet Zara preferred otherwise. Zara preferred to be an architecture specialist of her private retaliation. Inform me in your responses. What would you have executed? And where do you exist right now? I'm requesting you to recognize. Do you remain in Seoul where this account originates? Do you remain in the Big Apple, in London, in Mumbai, in the Atlantic Coast location? Inform me your region. Inform me your municipality if you're comfortable revealing. This gathering spans globally and I'm requesting to recognize who you are, what region you come from, what motivates you toward this account. Because the reality that you're right here observing this represents you comprehend something vital. You comprehend that authority and craving are inseparable, that peril and affection represent a pair of matching perspectives, that occasionally the most gorgeous accounts get those where the powerless turn mighty, where the shame turn winners, where the disappearing turn absolutely, definitely apparent. And if this account motivated you, if you experienced that electricity, that meet between retribution and retaliation, between the individual and the grand, subsequently please, press that preference signal. We're aiming at 5,000 preference responses on this production, and your assistance is what sustains these accounts, what permits us to persist delivering you narratives of crime group heirs and application specialists, of wealthy males lowered through feminine individuals they undervalued, of affection accounts that get forged in heat and examined through peril. Register to this location right now. Don't simply prefer the production, register. Because there are 8 additional hidden elements regarding Zara's historical record that shall absolutely shift all you consider pertaining to her and pertaining to Mikhail Korakov. There are 8 further accounts regarding how they developed their realm, regarding how the Quiet Serpent genuinely got his designation, regarding what he perpetrated prior to contacting Zara, regarding the operations he'll execute to maintain her. In the following production we're exposing the reality regarding the period they genuinely encountered, and it's so intense, so threatening, so pervaded with electricity that it nearly destroyed them both. It's a narrative regarding a beverage location in the Thailand city, regarding a portable computer, regarding a pair of threatening people recognizing each other spanning a crowded chamber, regarding the instant when a person's path transforms entirely because they've discovered somebody who perceives them completely. I'll see you in the following production. Don't become sluggish. Because the Quiet Serpent continues anticipating and simultaneously do I.